You're listening to the sound of the 80s with the Old Skool Movements Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. We've been celebrating it. We've had Daddy L on the show from Sonic.
Wow.
And we're going to have loads more amazing people on the Old Skool Movements Podcast. But on today's show, we have a pioneer. He was like my Trevor McDonald, the guy that was on TV that I wanted to be. He was, DJ, photographer, TV presenter, an all-round entertainer and good guy. He's my friend. He's your friend. He was around since the 80s doing his thing. It's Mr. Normski Anderson, ladies and gentlemen. Big him up, guys. Yeah, how you doing, man?
Drum roll, please. Drum roll.
Nice. Yeah, man.
Honour to have you on the show, man.
It's a blessing to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad to talk to you guys.
Indeed, it has. So, as you know, this is the Old Skool Movements Podcast, Normski, and we're gonna go back. We're gonna talk about your amazing book that you've just released. We're gonna go through what it took to get here and to get these great photos.
Yeah.
When was your first sign that you thought, you know what? I like cameras, I like photography. When did that happen? When did
the way I went into photography was like a little kid looking for the next thing to play with, next thing to do.
Yeah.
And my first camera that I got consciously, before I really took any notice of the ones that my mates might have hanging around, when I went and got a camera, it was because I was taken to an auction. And I'd been not well for a couple of days or maybe a week or something. And I must have been going on and on. Mom, so-and-so's got a bite, he's got a bite, everyone's got a bite. I'm becoming some mopey, unhappy child now. So, and my mum always made sure she didn't want to have to lick me up with this, with the beating thing too tough. So I had to fix up straight. And also she was there and she helped me out. And we went to this auction and to get bikes that were advertised in the newspaper. The auction was like a proper, anyone can go. It weren't like Sothersby or anything. It was basically a hyped up, but with brand new stuff, jumble sale. Yeah, it was sold out. And them ones, you guys just, it was like, look, and they're selling everything and anything, and like same as the man who would be doing on Oxford Street, to be fair.
Yeah.
And they did have bikes. There were bikes in that advert, so that was what we saw, and they looked like, 18 quid. They were probably really cheap to what they looked like in the shops. And when we got down there a little bit late, there were no bikes left. There was nearly no stock left of anything. Yeah. Well, I was lucky in a way because whilst I was vexed because you didn't see the bike was coming my way, I already didn't want to be in the building. I mean, I was already interested in not being there. So, and to my mum as well, I think it was another one of those excursions where she was going to take me out because she took me out to a lot of different things, a lot of different places. And I learned a lot that day. I learned the understanding of being in a room where there's things being on sale and that you weren't going to be able to get them unless you had enough money or you were early or you're on time. There's a lot of lessons I learned there, but ultimately the biggest lesson is getting something that you didn't think you really wanted, and then you were forced to get into it because that was it. When she said to me, she said to me, "What do you think about getting a camera?" And I went, "Not really, nah." I was like, no, I can't imagine how horrible I would have been
on a bike.
Yeah.
How we go from BMX to camera? I'm coming from BMX and you're offering me a camera.
well, you see, and I didn't know what bike it was. It was a racing bike they were selling. They were selling I didn't care.
Racing,
Up until then, the only bike I had was one that was a second-hand one that we had to build ourselves. You know what I mean? And that weren't looking sharp. That was in the old place. I lost that bike already. So anyway, they pulled out one of those Instamatic jobs, Kodak. That used to get a typical thing you'd get under the Christmas tree when they started to package things like, all in one. You get the camera, one roll of film, and like a cube flash. Instruction manual.
Yeah.
But I remember Kodak in those days, the colours were red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah.
So the packaging was kind of toy looking. It was moulded. It was a yellow back with a cutout for the camera in it. Yeah. And it had the red kind of plastic and the translucent cover, and it just looked like a Christmas present to me. And I remember looking at it on the bus thinking, I got interested in it straight away because I thought, well, hang on, whatever it is, it's got 3 bits to it, and it's like it's a camera. And then I realised,
transformer camera.
I think my mum would have been saying, you can take pictures and you can, and I think I must have already been, in a sense, enlightened by the idea of taking pictures, so that when I did get on the bus on the way home, I did open it up and I pulled the camera out, and I didn't put the film in straight away because I did have the warning straight away. So when that film done, you have to go buy your own film. Immediately. I'm really young. I ain't really worked out how to have to buy things because I don't have no money yet. I ain't got a job. But I'm getting told, don't waste the film.
You got them
That was
24
the line.
exposures. You got them last.
It was a 24 max. That was it on that little thing.
So you had to take the pictures carefully. So what kind
Well,
of pictures were you
before
taking
I took
first?
the pictures, I did remember looking through the camera. That was when I got hooked. Before I put film in,
Yeah,
I looked through that camera,
through the viewfinder. Yeah.
And again, I got into that thing where I used to wear the snorkel parka. Yeah, everyone had a snorkel parka. Number one, to keep your cold ass black warm in this cold country. Number two, because it was a practical piece of clothing with loads of pockets on the front. Number three, the best thing was it had the hood with the fur around
like
it.
a telescope.
Boom, the telescope. And then you had to zip that way right up. And you were like, like a periscope in a submarine.
A periscope, that's the one.
And you're like, and you've got like this tunnel vision now. But I was happy in there because like my imagination wasn't getting. You know what we were all like when we were young. You can make a marble.
It feels like you're in TV or something, man, when you're looking through that viewfinder, man.
Yeah.
But that's what it was like, but even more precise through the camera viewfinder. And I found that intriguing. My imagination stopping bits of the world and thinking, wow, look at that. I can see just the bus or the road from above. And all of a sudden, now my eyes are waking up.
Yeah.
I had a camera. I could take pictures of my mates. I could take pictures of stuff. Then I learned to develop them all. So that was me. My homework was just doing photography. And I really did ball school up, to be fair, because I understood what I was doing with a camera and film and paper and printing and the whole thing much more than I did the academic stuff. Even though I got that and I learned that and I was very good. And as I was told, if Norman would only concentrate, he would do really, really well. But I found I concentrated on the creative side of life much more than say the academic stuff.
We all got told that. I think if we go through all our reports.
But through through my training and my understanding of this thing that I love as a hobbyist, I got the magazine, Photo Magazine, which was a regular monthly mag that came out dedicated to the beginner's photography. And I learned a lot about darkroom techniques, lighting, and how to use the films and different cameras and stuff just by reading about them. So the dreams was always about getting the equipment so I could try and I started off with that little box. I didn't develop it myself. Then I got another little cheap camera that was really like an old Russian camera that when you loaded the 35mm film, when you have to wind them on, don't you, back in the day? They're all mechanic. And it had these sprockets the little holes in the film, and it had little teeth that would grab them. And those teeth, one of them was sharp and missing, and the film would slip. Or if you did it too hard, it would tear the film.
Through it,
So I was getting a lot of double exposures. That wasn't working out for me very well at all. But again, I learned about the dynamics of being sensitive with equipment and not having great equipment. And eventually I learned how to just do it just slowly. You'd know and you'd listen to it, you'd catch it, and you'd hear that sound, which meant time to take the film out because it's all doubled up and it's not winding on. Then, a friend of mine had a camera that he wasn't really using much. I think that was like a Mamiya 35mm. He said, look, you like photography, you can use it.
So who employed you first as a photographer? So you got your camera now, you're taking pictures. What was your first job in photography?
I was trying to think of that earlier on, and I think it was really local community work that I did for, I got called up by people like, Voice magazine. I think Echoes might have been the first music paper that I got an image in. Black Echoes it was at the time, and it was a newspaper format then it turned into a magazine. I didn't seem to get much from them. It was very difficult for me in the beginnings because I was a young photographer and I wasn't in the set yet, if you like. And there were a lot of people that were doing stuff, but I do believe that my name
Fleet Street style.
Yeah, I mean, there was I worked. Funnily enough, I had work experience that gave me what that Fleet Street thing was all about, and I'm very blessed and very fortunate because a lot of people didn't get that firsthand. Being a runner, going down to newspapers, going to the photo desk, dropping off envelopes with pictures. But a lot of people don't know what it's like to work in a press agency that, in a midweek, on Fridays and Saturdays especially, the football and the sports were on. They'd have horse racing all day. They would have football, local, regional football, and or at least low league football, not necessarily all Premiership stuff at all. And people don't remember when Match of the Day is League Division 1 and League Division 2 and League Division 3 and then the regional leagues. It'd be hours of results and stuff which needed photographs. And so what you would get was you'd get these photographs that were brought to you very early in the morning, after a game, middle of the afternoon, after a game finished, first football match that had been played. You'd get rolls of film and you would just batch develop them real quick. And roll of film to develop, 20 degrees or something, which is normal heat, will take you about 13 minutes of development time, 14 minutes. Then you have to wash it for a couple of minutes. Then you put it into a fixer and that holds the image on the film. So it's about a 25-minute. Then you'd have to dry it. And, you know, you'd hang out to dry overnight, or you'd have to dry it with a hair dryer or a dry dryer. And you'd have to be careful because it's celluloid, plastic. If you heat it up too much, it would melt it and it would get all curvy. We didn't give a fuck. We were in a rush. So we learned how to develop at about 30 degrees, way too hot. 5-minute develop, quick, bam, all going to be overexposed. But you learn how to print in, but don't mess them up because these are the only shots. Then you quite very quickly, you know, they would go through them all and go, right, that's a great shot. There's a shot of a goal. That's a great action shot. Norms, let's get those 10/8s. We print up 10/8s, get them in the envelopes. Put the Fleet Street Press Agency, who I was working with, based on Exmouth Market, up there in Farringdon, because in those days, all the papers used to be down Farringdon Road. Guardian, all of them, all the big papers. Then you keep going down there, take a right, and then you get onto the Strand, onto Fleet Street, then you drop them for all the other papers. We literally had, you know, 5 or 10 envelopes with all of the highlight photographs. And I learned about that very early on. And so I had that knowledge in my mind. So whenever I ever got an opportunity to work for anything like the Camden Journal, for example, they called me for a couple of things. And then because I did something for Camden Journal, oh, there's a young black boy photographer, Norman Anderson. He's very proficient. We sent him along to the Black Arts, you know, gallery, and he covered that for us. So I started to get calls from Camden Council now and again for unveilings of plaques. Those photographs would then be sent, and I would deliver them like I was delivering, you know. I'd go home, print them, do a print, stamp my name on the back, and I'd put it on the desk like all the piles, and they look professional. And that's how I got a call back.
Is it like when you found your car down a hole? I've seen the shot with the car.
That shot was a big deal because I was walking around this old guy's. It was a great photo, man. I called it DIY parking, and it was a newsworthy story of a lovely story of an old lady whose son got successful, and he bought his mum a present. He bought a new car for her. She's quite an old lady to run around in. Morris Metro or Mini Metro, Leyland Metro or something, you know, that looked like an original 5-door Polo type door, you know, a little car run around. But it was automatic, and she didn't really understand the automatic, and she was an older lady. But she basically got in it and revved it, and I just don't know what happened, but she just bolted forward and went straight in to the railings, and the nosedive of the car went into the basement. And it's so from our perspective, all we're seeing is the bottom of the car and wheels. And it's gone. She came out all right because she was wearing her safety belt, otherwise she would have fallen straight forward through the windscreen or fallen onto it. I'm sure she had a few bruises, but she was okay. They got her out of it, and then it took a massive job to get a rescue truck to rescue and pull out. But when the time I got round there, and this guy said to me, this old guy saw me and said, "Oh, look, you're taking pictures. There's a great picture around the corner." And I said to him, "What?" And he went, "No, you go around there, you'll see. It's really good." And when I went round, I was like, "Wow."
That was like
but it turned into a job straight away because it was the most unusual recovery job that the recovery guys had ever been called out to. And so immediately they said, "Oh, you could take pictures for us. We'd love some of this to remember, because this is just unreal. It's just the craziest job." And it weren't easy for them to pull it out because, you know, without pulling the front of the house apart or whatever. And somebody said, "You should take that to the newspaper. That is an incredible story." So I did that. I phoned up Camden New Journal. And then when I phoned them up, they said, "Oh my God, yeah, you sent a report up there. We've heard about this." Because it was like big talk.
You're on the scene.
But it turned out that the old woman was the mother of this architect. I keep thinking, Levitt and Bernstein Architects, right? And I think it was David Levitt was the guy who bought him. So Mrs. Levitt, or whatever his mum's name was. And so what it was is that when the connection with that, and the reason why I'm talking about this guy Levitt, is because I went to a school in Primrose Hill with another kid that was probably a year or two younger than me, maybe even a bit more younger than me. And he was that kind of posh kid that lived on the corner opposite the school. And we never thought nothing of it, but it turned out that his dad was the architect I was talking about. And the reason why I'm bringing it closer and closer and being sincere about it is because we lived at that time in some new flats that was called Auden Place. And that boy's name was Auden, and his father named the flats after his son. And I just thought it was quite an incredible little kind of triangle or circle where I live in this place designed by his guy, and I'm the one who ended up catching a photograph of the very prize that he got for designing where I live. He gave his mum this wonderful prize, and she just smashed it.
That's a good little story.
I would like to rethink the story and think she sat in the car. What is this fucking shit? Where's my Daimler? Where's my Jack? Oh, just get rid of this. Straight away. Or where she's probably thinking was, why have you bought me a card? I need a driver. I'm too old to be driving. I should be sitting there. But I just thought that was wonderful, that the fact that I was already linked into this special world, and it was thanks to my camera. And same thing happened again with David Bailey's house. At one point, someone said, I think there's people breaking into David Bailey's house, and running up there with my camera. By which time the police had arrived and they were clambering up to try and get into this guy's house. And I remember taking photographs of that, to the point of where I remember then meeting David Bailey on a canal one day when I was walking around with my camera looking for photographs to take. And I'd taken these pictures of my local area, shadows on the wall and all this kind of architectural stuff. And I saw Mr. Bailey with his assistant and his dog on Regent's Canal, right behind Primrose School, where I went for a while. And I saw him from a distance, and I thought, oh, that's that guy from the telly. That's actually David Bailey. And all I could really see was this gigantic tripod, a really old-fashioned wooden one. And I could see on the top of it, he had a 10:8 plate camera, which is a huge, high-quality, massive, serious architectural photography, still life. You do need an assistant to carry that sort of stuff around, big bags. And then I saw him, and he turned around. He had he had the Olympus OM. He had about 3 cameras and a little baby one on his wrist. And I went up to him and I said, hi, sorry, Mr. Bailey. Hi, my name's Norman. And he was really looking at me like I was nothing. So it's not supposed to be a bit of a nuisance, but I take photographs as well. As you can see, I've got an Olympus, and he was quite impressed, but didn't say anything. And I could imagine him thinking, who's this little black boy talking to me? Like, what do you want? What do you want? And I was like, well, I'm just wondering. And that's when I just went cheeky on him. I went, why do you need so many cameras to take one photograph? And he just looked at me like, why don't you just fuck off, you little runt? and then he was taking this picture, and I went, like, I took that picture last week. And he's taking a picture that I'd already taken. A little bit later, about a month, maybe about half a year or a year later, I didn't see him ever regularly. But I do remember seeing this book called N.W.A, and like my flats are in it. The wall I did, or my shot of the wall is much better than his shot, but he's David Bailey, and his printer was much better than mine. So graphically the shot looked a lot better than mine, but it was similar, and that gave me a real boost that I was able to take pictures that I could compete with David Bailey, but with less equipment. And I found out later though why he had this equipment, because the quality level was like somewhere else. And these images he shot were just unbelievable. But these are the kind of things that I had around me to give me the kind of courage to think, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's kind of really how it all got pro. Really, is that I did make the effort. I even used to call up magazines, and before I got asked, this is the answer to that question. Before I got asked by any publication if I wanted to photograph for them, I was approaching publications and asking them if they would be interested in buying or using any of my photographs that I'd gone to gigs the night before, and I was taking shots at live gigs, and then I would try and shop them around. And then that was probably where people said, hey, hang on, this guy is taking quite good shots. Also, I was taking photographs of predominantly the black community and black music. And a lot of these magazines weren't black. A lot of these, papers weren't, and they needed somebody that was the right person. And so whenever things like that came up, especially when it came to hip hop, R&B and soul, I would be called up. I did Freddie Jackson, Roger Troutman, Whitney Houston, Stevie Wonder, Barry White. I did all these live shoots for magazines that were sending journalists to gigs. And then there was a point when, I don't know which point it was, when I was called up and said, oh, look, there's a live gig, we can get you a photo pass, we need some live shots of so-and-so. I'd go along, go to the guest list and the VIP list, and I was getting a photo pass. I was on the list of photographers, and I was working for like Record Mirror. They would use me a lot, and that was the Bible at the time. It took me a very long time, and it was very late coming for me to start to work for some of the magazines that I eventually worked for. I mean, I really had to prove my worth, and that's why the book features mostly with the hip-hop stuff. because that was the stuff that really did explode up for me in that time. You know, I was competing with top end photographers when it came to the bigger artists. They had much bigger reputations, and they certainly weren't going to have some little young guy come from nowhere and start taking their work. So, and again, people tell me about how do you develop your style? Well, that was because I had no choice. I had to find a way around this wall of professional rat pack photographers that never ever, even between photographers, there is this competitive first pitch, get the spot, this is my spot, and that's the best angle. You never want to be right in front of the singer and the mic, because it's all mic. You want to be just like all these spots taken. I'm not, but I'm over here now and I've got no lenses. These guys got 500mm telephoto lens. They got everything. I got one camera.
Tell us about Hip Hop Connection, man. How does that come about?
That's when we first, sort of, the man with the golden shutter. That was when I first stumbled across your work, man. It was like, who's this guy? How's he getting into all these places to take these photos of?
Taking pictures of all my favorites. This guy's all the favorite hip hop artists. Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, Run DMC. This guy's got all the snaps. Look at the corner.
That was a result of the amount of running around I was doing. That the magazine, which was also very, very new, and the first real outlet we had that was specifically geared towards. I'm sure all the other magazines are all coming up at the same time, but they crossed a lot of stuff, be they I don't know, start naming any other mags, but Hip Hop Connection was a specialist magazine for the hip hop community. And when I went along there with everything I already had, they were like, whoa, they were based out in Ely in Cambridge. So they were miles away from the action. But some of the best artists live out in the middle of nowhere, and that's why they're so good, because they've got an idea, they've got something going on. The city's a great place for meeting other people. It can be difficult to focus though with the amount of action. So they were outside of any particular one place. They weren't London based, they weren't up north, they were out in the middle of Cambridge, so they're quite neutral, which was a good place for them to be, to get a picture that was bigger than just from my point of view, for example. But because I was in the right place and things were going on, when they saw the bulk of work that I was shooting, and in actual fact, I didn't get to do loads of cover shots for Hip Hop Connection. They were getting shots that they were putting on the covers from professional photographers that had already been. Some of the acts were already used. God, you're all going, oh my God, he was like shooting Big Daddy Kane. How do you think I felt? I was like, bruv, Big Daddy Kane is in London.
I want to bus a Big Daddy Kane, man.
Well, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take a bus to the gig. No one booked me to go and photograph Cold Chilling Party, I had to beg for that. I had to beg for that, bruv. When I got a photo pass to go Cold Chilling, I was begging. You know what I mean? The reason why I got that pass is because they're like, yo, this guy Normski is the guy. He needs to be getting the photo passes. No one phoned me up and said, no, we want you to go along to this gig. I would have called someone up and said, look, you need to get me a pass to get into that gig, man. What do you mean you haven't got a pass? That mustn't happen. You're taking stuff for the Hip Hop Connection now. And I realised that
that's how you
I was actually, I had, when people used to ask me after Hip Hop Connection started to use me, I was like blasé with that name. I'm a Hip Hop Connection photographer, who's that? And I explained who it was, and it didn't take him long.
Normski.
So, and that section that Chris Hunt, the original editor, had put together for me was like his take on Man About Town, you know what I mean? The man is everywhere. Like James, like a spy with a camera. So he came up with his name. Like I never sat there and had a meeting. They just
a good one.
It's got a really good name for your column. And I was like, what? And they're like, Normski, man with a golden shutter. There's a little logo, and they came up and everything. And I was like, right, that can work. That works. Really didn't really give a toss about the name or anything. More the fact was I had 2 pages, and they were going to use some off-key, sporadic 1980s style of design where it was all slightly at an angle. Squiggly yellow around that one and squiggly red around the frame.
Style.
But again, looking at all that stuff, but again, I just looked at it and saw past that, and all I could see was photos I'd taken that were repping the scene And that was a really popular part of the magazine.
Yeah.
And it's that thing again, you know, when I worked with Record Mirror, when I first went to see Record Mirror as a young photographer, I took my portfolio that I already had, and a lot of it was live gigs. I'd been to a few good live gigs. Some of them were friends, test model shots with friends, and don't remember having much professional work in there. But I had a very professional, because I learned photography, I learned the art of it, and I learned the skills in printing. So I presented my portfolio really well. And if you looked at it, you would have said, wow, this guy's really good, but he isn't shooting anything that anyone knows of. But God, I reckon, you know, we gave this kid a chance. So they were like, Debbie Kirby was the editor at the time, and she actually said, when I went and by chance got to meet her, because a journalist took me in to the magazine, Stuart Bailey, who was a very good writer, guy from Belfast, and he'd been doing a lot more rock and pop stuff, but we got paired together on a shoot with a band called Lightning Strike. They were like a pop, not even pop, no, they were more like rockabilly, rock and roll, punk, post-punk, Clash type indie band, yeah. 4 chords. They wore leather, they had bullet belts, very like rock, you know, Boy London, the haircuts half skinhead with a little, you know, rockabilly look, and just different, man. And I went along and shot them, and I just used hip-hop attitude with them when I shot. Got them jumping off the roof in Soho, you know what I mean, all these big angle shots. And Stuart Bailey was like, these photographs was just magnificent. You need to meet the editor, because I'm going to move back to Belfast, and I really think you should be working more. So a lot of people that saw the light and said, look, and I'm going to introduce her, they showed me the ropes, and I went and met her, and she looked at my portfolio, and she was mind-fucked by it when she saw it, and she looked up and she was like, wow. I mean, first of all, she didn't even realize I was black, because she'd heard my voice before, because I was doing, hi, my name's Norman Anderson, I'm a photographer. Just wondering if you heard this last night at the concert at the Wembley at Hammersmith Odeon, because I was there taking live shots. If you were maybe reviewing it, you might be interested in having a look at some of my black and whites that I photographed of the gig. Oh, really? How quickly can you have them to us? They're printed. Oh, the gig was only a few hours ago. Because I'm a bad boy, I got a dark room in my yard.
I got a dark room, innit?
So I said, so where are you based? And she's like, oh, we're just on the Hampstead Road, just near to Mornington Crescent. I went, that's handy, because I'm just up round the back and over the hill. So I'm just going to jump on my bike or whatever and run down, and I'll have them in there first thing in the morning. So I would do the delivery. So, but then she met me, who is the photographer, and of course my telephone voice, as you just heard, was very well spoken. And she was actually, when she looked up, and that was the first time, that would have been around about 1986, 87 probably, because it was 87 when that shot went in there, early 87 maybe, when hip hop was a rage, it was happening. But and they were going to start to feature this new thing that had come to London. Again, like I say, not a lot of pages were given to black music in the early days. We were always in the corner somewhere. And when I went in there, she was like, she looked up and she was introduced to me by Stuart Bailey, and I remember she was like, oh. she let her guard down, and she went, oh, you're black. Like, and I was like, oh, am I? Because I never had to think of that before then. I never had to think about it. So she looked at my book, and she looked, and she was honest with me. And it's another breakthrough for me, because she looked up and she said, these photographs are actually fantastic for someone who's not been doing it very long. And I see you really love your music and blah, blah, blah. And she looked up and she went, would you be interested in photographing non-black artists? And I said, like anyone else looking for work, yeah, damn, I just like photographing people. I love it. Yeah, please, I'd love to. And obviously I'd done the Lightning Strike, which is a non, and after that she started giving me some slightly obscure shoots. But I did do some interesting shoots in that time. Like I went to, Europe with Aha. Shot them. I shot the Communards, and then got a live shot from the Communards gig on the back of an album they did. It was only a little stamp size, but when you see live shot with Communards by Norman Anderson, I wasn't even Normski in them days yet. The nickname hadn't quite stuck. So that was a change in time, really, when I think about getting in there, getting my foot in the door. And same thing happened with ID magazine, in similar sort of time, maybe a bit later, 88, 89. I remember ID magazine was the Bible of street style and fashion, and opening its arms up to like diverse new shit, you know what I mean? And I remember I had an opportunity where somehow my number had been given to Beth Summers, who I think was either the notice editor or fashion editor at the time. or news editor. I can't remember what she was. She was quite big in the magazine, and she'd called me up and called my number. And by that time, people are phoning me. You know what I mean? I've got Hip Hop Connection. Is getting my name left, right, and centre. I'm working with record companies because in those days, record companies used to pay for journalists and photographers to do stuff to boost their acts. So if there was a trip somewhere, you'd get a coach or a bus up to somewhere and watch them play live in a different venue, or you might even be going to Europe with them on a day trip for a gig or something like that. I went to Milan with the Pasadenas once, you know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And they did Giovanni TV show, which was the equivalent of Top of the Pops in Italy. And, you know, I remember doing the kind of tour one day, you know, going with the band, hanging out a day, being with them, do the gig, hung out, they have all the fun. You'll see the gig, go back to the hotel, see a bit of Milan in the morning, and you're back training the plane or whatever back in London, So those things were coming at me. But I mean, it was a very interesting time of ID because they'd called me up because there was De La Soul were playing in London, and for the first time, I think, and also there were all those dances that were all the rage at that time. The Pee Wee Herman, you know, there was so many dances I can't remember after the most ridiculous names, all named after various TV programs or Tron or something. You know what I mean? Like, maddest names, but. And she wanted to know what. She said, "We're doing a story about all these new hip hop dances. Tell us all about it." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She says, "Well, we've been giving your name and your number. Apparently, you're the right man to talk to because you take a lot of photographs or whatever. You're part of the scene. She might not even mention photograph." And I said to her, "Well," and I was really cheeky by then. I said, "Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm not telling you nothing unless you can promise me I'm doing the photographs." And she's like, "Oh, you're going to be like that?" And I said, "Well, who are you? Who are you? Like, you just come out of the woodwork. You want me to be giving you information about our scene, and you're not going to include me?" Like, and she's like, "Are you a photographer?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, I figured that's probably why you got my number." She's like, "Well, no, I heard you just know a lot of people." I went, "Oh, okay." She's lying, trying to play it and just get all the info and run with it. She said, "All right, okay, how about you come into the office, bring your photography with you. Have you got a portfolio?" And I went, "Yeah, I got a portfolio. I got my own dark room, and I'd love to do that because I'd love to come and do stuff for you guys." So we had a mutual agreement on the telephone that I was going to go on a go-see. And that go-see I went to, I borrowed my mate's bicycle, rode from Camden to Covent Garden where they were based. They were based in an old building, which was about second floor, I reckon. And I remember when I got there and I was like, "Oh, I ain't got a padlock." And I was like, "I can't leave my mate's bike out here." And that's the days of the dispatch rider. The dispatch rider would, you know, with the old bag. Them were the guys doing the post.
Paper bag.
They were just rolling prints from labs, delivered to here. I don't know what they were doing. And they were on point. And this guy, I remember I was downstairs thinking, shit, oh no, I can't be late for the meeting. I can't leave the bike down there. So I was like, fuck it, I'm taking it upstairs. And the stairs are those metal ones, like there's a lift in the middle, isn't it? Yeah. And it's like a lift with a little gate and all that. And you're going around the stairs going up. And I was going up the stairs with my bike. And this guy's coming down like with his cycling shoes and his tight shorts and sweaty, stinky fucking dispatch body. And he's saying to me, "Oi, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't take your bike up there." And I was like, "Well, I am." So, you know, that's what he's saying, really. And us dispatch riders, we can afford a padlock and we leave them locked downstairs. And I went, "Oh, us photographers don't even dispatch." And I was like, just cheeky. And then I got to the top of the stairs and I was like, "I can't even leave it here. Where am I going to leave it?" Because I was really like, I'm not leaving my guy's bike outside. So I don't know what came over me, but I sat on the bicycle, bruv. I stood on it, got a balance, and just rode it in. I pushed the two doors and came in and skidded in front of the reception. And I see Beth. Yeah, I was like, "Hi, Normski, I come to see Beth Summers." Oh, wow. And everyone was like, "How the fuck did you just ride that bike? We're 2 floors up." So to them, the illusion was I just rode straight off the street, straight to the office.
Straight to the office.
And they're like, "Now, how's he done that? Because we're on the second floor." I made that mega impact on my first, and Beth was like, "Oh my God, you are." She's like, "Oh, you are a little cheeky one, aren't you?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't want to lose my mate's bike." Showed her the pictures, and then she said, "Look, you are very good. I tell you what, how about this? You take photographs of all these dances to go with our story." Because I then sat there and we talked about it, and they had all the information. but they just wanted to confirm they weren't talking shit and weren't being wound up and they had it right, and they just needed someone to confer with, and I was a perfect person. At the end of the day, I pulled together a really nice photographic essay that went well with their madly crazy, giant letters all over the pictures, and it was just wild. And that was a big deal. And then after that, I kind of became a regular contributor for ID magazine, which I favoured and loved because we all wanted to work for the Face, but the Face, Click Central, you need to have gone uni or to the right art school or mummy and daddy, all that kind of stuff that was definitely going on, and thankfully I wasn't in that bracket, so I was actually doing interesting stuff and maybe not getting paid much for it, but certainly stuff that has outlived.
How did you pick up the Kool Moe Dee shots then? Because they're some of my favourites of yours, man. I love them shots on the staircase, and I was thinking that was off the back of UK Fresh.
And it was a big deal, don't get me wrong. Kool Moe Dee now, around about the same time, could it have been a week after, could it have been a week or a month before, I don't know, but I remember my mate used to work in Battery Studios, which is over in Wilson. And a lot of them Jive Records. That's Jive Records' studio. Kool Moe Dee was signed to Jive Records, wasn't he? Millie Jackson was signed to Jive Records. And quite a few early acts. Houdini was signed to Jive Records for a minute. My mate Chuck Norman, actually, he was a tape op and engineer, a friend of mine, slightly older than me, but cool. He was going out with a girlfriend I went to school with, and he said to me one day, he called me up, he goes, Norm, you need to get yourself down to the studio, because he was doing a tape op on this session with this producer whose name I cannot remember, but he was renowned for doing a lot of early hip hop stuff. Chuck said, there's this rapper down there, I don't know him, but he looks really cool. You need to get down there. I think you make a great photo. So that's a red Fila tracksuit he's rocking there.
I thought we all had one because of that.
He's wearing Porsche. It's most important that you put the Porsche wraparound, all one piece, curved glasses with the leather hat in red as well. And the original rings, like signet rings, the little ones with little coins. And none of those big fat blings, that tight little chain, tidy guy. And at that time, one of the baddest MCs in the world,
wicked shots.
And when I went down there, it was a case of, my mate's a photographer, he's going to come down and do some photography. He works for all the mags. I'm sure that he sold me in like that. I went down there and they said, of course you can take some photographs of Kool Moe Dee. And he was very happy to get the fuck out of the studio for a minute. I think he was recording Go See the Doctor and all them kind of tracks. Or maybe he'd already recorded that, he was doing another EP, I'm not sure. But again, as a photographer with these sort of artists, I would say that I felt like I was a relief when I went to them, or when they came into my company, because I was interested in what they were doing, but I was interested in the way they looked, and everyone was making a fucking effort in the way they looked. And then the idea of maybe having not many, see, watch this now, watch this. So I'm going to now try and think of another photograph taken by anybody in Great Britain of Kool Moe Dee, possibly around the same time. No. There's none. You know why? Because the reason why he obliged, and was probably even more obliging, was because, first of all, so you managed to get a photographer to come into the studio while I'm in the studio. So I'm not just here to make music and then be jacked back to America. Number two, who's this cool black guy? Because you don't get black photographers in the 80s, bro. What the hell is this guy? Like, yo, what's your name? Normski, man, Yeah, man, all right, what do you want to do? Let's do some nice angles. Can we go outside? Yeah. Don't venture too far. I mean, I'm all right. Car park can work. Outside the back of the building. We do the shot here, boom, 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 little shot, boom, boom, boom. Got the hand, got the ring up close, got the wide angle shot, one roll of film, job done. Thanks for your time, bye. Back home, in the dark room, developed them, got another set of pictures.
Iconic shots.
That's it.
How did you get all these photographs? Well, because I was interested in taking the photographs with these people. And that's what my book has got, all these photographs full of people that I was interested in, that were doing something, making noise when I was young, coming up. We were all young. We were all coming up.
It was in 87, you done the Def Jam tour, didn't you, as well?
The Def Jam tour did us.
That was when biggest hip hop artists coming to London.
There were a whole heap of heavyweight photographers at that period, 87, and again, I wasn't being sent there to photograph for anybody because they already had their photographers in place that they were going to use. I can imagine, like me as a photographer, as I got through, you would have known about gigs coming, you would have been begging the photo editor or the editor, please let me do this gig that's coming.
Get me on that
please one. Please make that be me. And a lot of people had earned their brownies marks and stripes, so I appreciate that. So again, I go along as the budding hobbyist who thankfully has got my outlet, who doesn't need to be asking people, because I can just say I'm shooting for Hip Hop Connection.
Yeah.
And the thing is that no matter where you were in the world in 1987, there was only one outlet in the UK, but there was more than one, but it was one outlet that was making some noise, and it was the Hip Hop Connection magazine. That's your dedicated audience there. Most photographers would like pack their bags up and go after the first few numbers. Bruv, I couldn't wait to put my stuff away, and then I'm getting into the gig. That was my free ticket to the show, and I used to stay to the end of the show because I went there to see the acts. You know, the photography was a byproduct of me going to the gig. I used photography many times as an excuse to get free tickets to go to the gig. No, often there was a meal ticket for me, but I made it pay, and we paid each other. I got good pictures, and that deserved me being called back or being allowed to get into another gig, really. And then at times, like I say with the Cold Chilling guys, their tour manager came off the bus with his band that had done really well, came off stage, and they were really happy with their performances, and everyone was excited. It was a big look, and they're getting to go and leaving their tour bus, and I'm standing right near the tour bus with my camera still there, like a lost dog that just, you know, don't know what I look like. And he's like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a photographer." "Oh, really?" And again, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, really." Like, it's this camera, it's this big grey bag that's got 13 lenses in it. Yeah, this is like what a photographer carries around. Yeah, I'm a pro, man. They're like, "Yo, man, wicked." And he didn't say it, but I now know. He looked and he thought, "Whoa, this motherfucking black kid out here, man, we don't get that a lot in America." Damn. And I'm like, "Whoa, you guys don't have a photographer with you. You don't have your own photographer." They were just about afford to bring the band over in them days. I thought man was only getting 50 quid a gig, no matter how big we think they are. Them man's weren't there. Just get them out in England.
Crazy,
records, just promote records. You know, most of the money was taken up with the flights, food, and hotel. They had per diems. Per diems were like £5 a day to eat off.
Afford a photographer.
No one was getting no bling service in them times. Man was like a slave on stage, bro. But he saw this dude and he said, "Listen, we got another show tomorrow in the north somewhere. I can't remember what town it is. How do you feel about coming on the tour bus and doing some photography for us?" Yeah, that sounds good. Say nothing to no one. Went home all happy. Got my kit ready. Woke up early. Got on that bus, train, whatever. Went back down to the hotel and waited for them to come down in reception. They came down. He's like, "Oh, you made it. Good. Yeah, listen, I got something for you. I ain't got it now. I cried now. I got something for you." And he gave me this MIA jacket. You know them ones? A black one.
Yeah.
And when he turned it around, Cold Chilling crew on the back. I had my own tour jacket, which they gave me. So for one night, I was part of the Cold Chilling crew. Hence why you see my photographs on the bus. Funnily enough, they all hit jet lag as we sat down on the bus.
All asleep.
That's why I call it the sleepy bus in the book. But then I thought, no one's going to do that. Shot of Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, biggest female mouth in hip-hop, Roxanne Shante. Bam! Human, not just rappers, real people.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that was my rock and roll style of being there, fly on the wall, in real life, real time, really capturing. Yeah, I got shots of them performing, but they just didn't have the same power for the book, you know. And everyone expects to see, you know. I saw all these shots which didn't make it into my book, and I saw Lawrence Watson's book. I saw every book that's come before me, and I was like, "No, this is not what I want to do." I'm just the most difficult place to be. Try not to act like I'm copying a book that's preceded me, looking at it all with a stupid, over-analysing mind, because you do that.
I haven't seen a book like it, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't stupid. It was like I was told earlier on by someone. They said, "Oh my God, you know you've taken so many risks, and whoa, you broke this and broke that." I was like, "Well, I really," but then I said to her, "So what we're saying is that to be creative is to be risky, is it?" And that's what I said, because for me to step beyond just what everyone expected, I had to look at stuff that I'd taken and ask myself, why have I got photographs of, like, you know, why have I got the biggest rappers just chilling? You know, I got a picture of Ice Cube outside his mum's house, like, you know, looking angry because he's fucking pissed. Just got kicked out. He just left the band that are just not paying him. You know, we're outside his house in South Central, or wherever it is in LA where he lives. You know, it's real. You know, he didn't want to do anything that wasn't real. And so I'm there in his environment. You know, all of my shots are like, even the Kool Moe Dee shot. This is a studio break moment where most people might go outside and have a cigarette in the car park for a little break. That's when I'm snapping. I could have gotten shots on the mic.
You see them. You see them everywhere, don't you?
Everyone, yeah.
You see them in every other magazine.
Oh yeah. You know, I always used to have to do something different, because by the time I got to a lot of these artists, they'd already been seen in one way. So and somehow the artists as well invited me into their worlds.
Yeah. So as well as the photography, you moved into television and you presented the show that everybody knows in the 90s, everybody loves. They practiced the Running Man to it. They listened to all their favorite groups, and that was Dance Energy.
That's right.
It was new fresh dance music on BBC as well. Like, it was unexpected. It was like, what's this? This is something for us.
That show was revolutionary, man.
It was wicked, man.
It was absolutely big show. Like it.
It was, Frankie. And you know, the other mad thing was it was straight after school time, prime time. I mean, I used to think it was on like, it was on at 6. Prince. Someone said it was on at 6 o'clock, so 6:25.
No, 6:25.
But then it got 6:25. Yeah, 6:25.
It was the Fresh Prince. It was the Fresh Prince, and then it was Dance Energy at 6:25.
Was it that way around? I always thought I was a support act, and I was on first. And Fresh Prince
he was your support act.
No, it was a build-up. Trust me, because I used to wait.
Right, yeah, you're probably right. It was a double bill, but I always never quite remember. But then they moved us slightly later at times, 6:30, and then to 7 o'clock. Yeah, but you're right. It was somewhere between youth TV and adult TV, wasn't it? Yeah,
and you lot just blew up because.
Also, I don't think TV went on till all night then. Either did it? It kind of died after about midnight. We used to have a replay on a Sunday that was about 11 o'clock that got no watches because no one was watching.
I didn't even know you had a replay on a Sunday.
That's the replay, mate.
That's news to me right now. Damn.
It's to catch it on the way home after church.
Yeah, and Saturday, so Monday was the fresh show, and then we had the replay of that the following Sunday, and then we'd get the next show again. Yeah, we did. There was good times in the beginning. We also had a couple of moments in the first series where the show was actually 40 minutes long. That seriously got reduced back down to a 30-minute slot, which including the title sequence at the beginning, which we abbreviated to keep really short, and the end sequence, we were actually on air for 28 minutes. And I think that the producers, being forced to try to steer our program from taking over from what Top of the Pops was, which was the flagship music show on BBC television, we were fast becoming the cooler Top of the Pops, because half the acts that were on Top of the Pops wanted to be on Dance Energy because that was much cooler to be on, and you know, and it was a new show and it just looked much better, and so we were forced to change and change the format a lot, so that we had an identity. Otherwise, we weren't going to be able to carry on. And one of the ideas they came up was to maybe make it into like a house party where we're having a rave in my house or a party in my house. And so instead of it being in the TV studio, like, you know, just a typical music show, what we could do is we could take a TV show and put it into a house. Of course, we didn't have a house. So what we did is we then built house sets, which is what you would do with a sitcom within the TV studio. And we had the clever idea of doing something, taking some bands, having them in the kitchen, some were in the bedroom, some were in the hallway. You know, you'll remember the bit with TLC, especially with Vass Blackwood, who was my sidekick or my best mate, you know, and he would be good cop, bad cop, you know. I would be the formal ones going, no, we've got to do things properly, and he'd be going, no, Norm, loosen up, man, you know, let's just have some fun. I'm like, Vass, this is like a serious thing we're doing, we can't have fun. And it was a wonderful play on that. And then we went in as far as giving the acts something more to do than just come along and perform, which we, you know, every single act, I had no idea all of these hip-hop acts were actually on the route to becoming Hollywood film stars. I just thought they were going to be rappers for the rest of their lives. But
we all did,
it comes part and parcel, you know, with what else do you do once you're being a singer and dancer? Oh, maybe act. And what else do you do? Oh, maybe I'll become a director. It's all kind of entertainment. So what we did is we helped advance a lot of people's careers and show them another way of presenting themselves. Mine also, and to have fun. And to take it and make it more than just a music program, make it a lifestyle program. You know, so and that really worked for us, and so it became Dance Energy House Party.
And you inspired me as well. You inspired me to be a presenter, man, and you inspired me to make a documentary about you that was still waiting to come out. And like
one of the things the world has to see. But what I like about that particular documentary that we did make was it was a personal journey from your point of view about how that time, and especially Dance Energy, had affected your life.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because, you know, I've heard stories, I've heard all kinds of stories about what people were doing. Like some people, you know, when they were unfortunately under Her Majesty's guard, then when they were allowed to watch TV, that was their access to what was going on outside. And another thing I'd like to say about Dance Energy is that when I initially was asked to come along to find out about the show, and I went to this production meeting with the producers and original writers, and I sat with them with my portfolio as a photographer. I went there thinking, I'll get some still shoots out of this, and I'd done a couple of video promo shoots where I was on set with bands in between the video shoot, and I just thought music television, no, there's got to be some photographic work for me in there somewhere. So I went along, and that's all I had, and that's where the truth comes out. I was armed with my portfolios, I was armed with my knowledge of the scene up to that point so far, which is like 1989, 1990, which is vibrant, because we've just come out of the back of that hip-hop flying. That's why I'm there. We've heard you're a big man in the industry, you take photographs, and you know everyone knows of you. And so we'd love to talk to you about this new concept. So I went along to go and talk, showing them my book, Innocent as Hell, Happy as Larry, that more people are looking at my book, love the fact that they like what I was showing, the smiles seemed, you know, legitimate. And I think it was Mary, who's the main producer, she sort of said at one point when I was going for the pictures, telling stories about each image, and she said, oh my God, these are amazing. And I was like, what the pictures and that? She goes, no, you're amazing. I goes, oh, thanks. What do you mean? She goes, well, you just seem to know everything. You sound great, you look great. I mean, and she said to me, have you ever thought of being on the other side of the camera? And I was like, no, absolutely never thought of that. The only time I ever get in front of the camera is when I have to lead by example, give someone an idea of the kind of pose I'm talking about, and I get them to hold the camera, and I go, you know, if you stand on the wall and I kind of just lean over a bit like that, or just, you know, just sort of direct. But no, not really. At that point, I'd been a drummer in a band, so I've had all eyes on me. Most of the band I was more worried about than the audience, because trust me, when you weren't good as a musician in a band, the band would be like, come on, man, and you'd be like, pick it up. So, and I just went for it, like, you know, okay, I'll give it a shot, but, you know, see how it works. But I kept saying, you know, I've got to make sure my camera's involved in it somehow, but I kept thinking I could still take photographs some way. And in the first time you ever see me on television on Dance Energy is in the title sequence, right at the beginning. And the first time you ever see me, before you see me, you see my Olympus Zoeco lens, and I'm like that. And then I turn the camera and the whip lashes to the girl's ass that turns around with a Dance Energy logo. And then boom, I think it's time to make the floor burn, and everyone starts dancing. And I'm in there trying to get shots real quick. And then even in the early series, because there wasn't enough studio time for us to elongate on this, which is what I really wanted to do, and which did annoy me about when I was being taken off the dance floor. It did annoy me that there was a quick turnaround with the bands, and they often had to go off and do press after they did TV, and they had to go off and do other stuff in interviews or whatever. But I really always wanted to do a snapshot of the artists whilst they were performing. And that only lasted for a couple of acts really early on before they really zoomed me up into presenter mode. And the camera was a little bit difficult to have on set. It was a little bit, you know, I seemed to have so much going on, and it kind of got put back a little bit. But there is a great photograph in the book, two great photographs really, but there's one particular good one which I managed to get in there, which is the one of Run DMC. And they were in the studio when they were on Dance Energy. And so the reason why I bring the book back in it at this stage is because that TV show, not unlike my book in a sense, we really had a real cross-section of amazing artists, you know, and I partially mentioned before when Vass was doing House Party, when we were doing the scenes, you know, we had Kylie Minogue in that house doing the scene with me and Vass doing Kung Fu practice, and we had TLC trying to get into the party and me saying, you're not invited, you're not coming in, and Vass sneaking them in the back way into the house for them to then turn around and pop the place apart with one of their tracks. You know, we had loads of great, you mentioned Prodigy already, but we had, you know, Karen Wheeler, Moni Love, we even had Hijack coming there doing Batman and Robin.
Bizarre Ink,
SL2, Bizarre Ink, Raga Twins, loads of them.
London Posse.
Yeah. There you go.
Jump Around, I remember when it Jump Around.
I mean, I was sent a list a little while back from a researcher that has actually found all of the episodes. I'm not going to attempt to share it on you just now, but when I saw that list, I must be honest with you, it was ridiculous.
I read somewhere, did you ever DJ for Muhammad Ali?
Yeah.
I read somewhere and I was like, how did that come about?
Because EA games. This is where the gaming comes back into it. I was invited because I was in the right ilk. When they broke that particular game, they did a press party at a club in Leicester Square. I can't remember what it's called. During the day, it was like a breakfast press launch for this game. And James Oldsworth, wow, I remember his name. He was a very young guy working for EA. He was new, and he'd been given this account to work, and he went for it. As an avid fan of football and sports, he went for it. He had this great idea. Just imagine if we could get Muhammad Ali to help us launch this game with Lennox Lewis, at the time the heavyweight world champion. How brilliant a coup would that be? And his company went, that will never happen. Yeah. And he went out of his way to try and find how we could make it happen, and got Muhammad Ali, even with early stages of Parkinson, in an unwell state, to come to London. And then he said, look, we've got this gig, we'd really like you to... And up to that point, I'd already been seen as an influencer, so I was being sent games, and I was interested in a bit of gaming anyway. And again, James and many other people were big fans of me. At that launch, you had the likes of Trevor Jackson, Trevor Nelson, and all those sort of radio and media broadcasters that were going to give this black-based British game, electronic game, Lennox Lewis being Canadian, Jamaican, British, but it was a very big deal to get people that were influential from the same sort of set. And I just got asked, if I wanted to do a DJ set that would ultimately be at a press launch. There would be a moment when Muhammad Ali would be the guest of honor. Wow. James said to me, his name was James Holdsworth, isn't it? He said to me, Norm, there's only one thing I ask that you play. Mama said knocks me out when he walks in the room. That was all he wanted. He wanted that intro, like he'd organise a boxing promoter. The fighter was going to come out. He had to come out to the right track, and then we were going to have champagne and bubbles, Bucks Fizz, a couple of little snacky bits, and one by one, all the press that had come would get to see the game in action, get to meet Lennox Lewis, and get to interview Muhammad Ali. So it was going to sell the game. And my job was to play music, and of course, I had my little son not that long around that time when that was going on, and he was at nursery. I remember he was at nursery, and his mum was all over me going, oh my God, I've got to come to that with you. Oh my God, don't tell me. I said, yeah, we're all going. I said, we're all going. Marcus is not going nursery. We're all going.
He's coming to meet the champ.
And then I went down there, and I had, funk and some hip hop. That's all I was really playing. It wasn't going to be a big banging DJ set. It was purely background music to keep everyone happy.
What a good little gig though, man.
It was incredible, because when I got the note saying, okay, he's coming, I lined up. Mama said, knock you out. I went to put it on, and they went, no, he's not here yet. No, one more track. But then when it happened, they had a carpet that came in one entrance, walked all the way down the side of the venue, right in front of where I was set up on a DJ booth, and then back through this door into the VIP room. So I'm going to walk him down, welcome him into the building. He's going to go like that, and then immediately walk him straight round to the back, because there would be a mad crush for him when there's Muhammad Ali, right? And then all the press interviews one by one would be lined up to go in and do an interview with him and Lennox, talking about how brilliant boxing is, the game, etc. You knew when the icon walks in the building. You knew, because everyone was all casual, getting punched drunk in the morning, laughing, couldn't wait, very exciting. No one had ever seen Muhammad Ali in real life, hardly. No one had never met him before, I doubt. And then I put Mama Said Knocks You Out on, because he was coming in, and then he came through the door at the end. Everyone!
That's a pin drop.
And he's walking, shaking along. And he's walking along, and you see him, and you think, fuck, he's like, that's Muhammad Ali. He don't look very strong, he don't look very well, but he looks great. And he's getting closer and closer. None of us have made a sound, and the music's on. The music's on, but everyone's mesmerised. And he's watching him walk. And he walked down towards me, then he turned and walked towards me, and he just looked like he tripped or fell. I thought,
no.
No, you know what? Before he did that, I couldn't help myself. That's what it was. I went, yeah!
You scared him?
He was right there. I scared him. I scared him. And he went down.
Oh!
And I went, and you know what he did? He faked feigned a drop, yeah?
He usually does that, yeah.
And you know what he did? This is when I started crying and went, had water in my eye. James had water in his eye. My missus had water in her eye. She had the camera. I said to her, take a picture. She had the camera. She's frozen. Could not believe it. No, everyone was frozen, man. Oh my God, it was very strange, very surreal. He bent down and then he picked my son up. Oh. And he went, this is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about the future. It's all about the future. And I just went, I nearly fainted, bro.
Wow.
Amazing.
I ain't got the photograph to pull out. I nearly fainted.
What a moment.
I can't tell you.
What a moment.
The champ.
The champ to the champ.
To the champ.
Guys, go out and get the book, man. Go out and get the book.
Get the book, guys.
The book,
Man with the Golden Shutter. Find it on Amazon. It's on a deal at the moment on Amazon. It's worth checking it out. Get it as soon as you can.
Thank you, guys.
It's a really good read, man. Great photos.
You love your hip hop, you love your music culture.
Guys.
This is the book.
It was a long time coming, and it's good that it's come now,
Thank you,
man.
guys. I appreciate that, man. I really do. It's been an honor to share.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
We got to speak off camera and get this documentary moving. BBC, if you're listening, we need this documentary on TV.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm Mr. Lucas.
I'm Chris.
I'm Stacks.
I'm the Last Dragon, aka Tyler Perry.
And I'm Normski. Peace.
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 Those were the days I remember.